Little podcast here. All right, go on.
All right, this is gonna be like a part 2 to the last video I made, just like John Levi or what's the other guy, Jared Booster, my lunch
Stowe
break,
family.
about
John Bullock.
finding shit wrong with the narrative. And he mentioned Ocala and St. Augustine, which Ocala's been here a long time. It's been on maps from what, 1500, 1600, 1700s. It's been around forever. I wanted to show you the location because logistics-wise, it's in the perfect spot to go St. Augustine down to Ocala or out to Cedar Key to ship things, use goods. They use the St. John's, the Ocala into Ocala. Silver Springs was a wharf, tourist attraction and a wharf, and that's
international tourist attraction, actually.
5th largest city in the state at the time.
When they had 3,000 people.
But yet, wasn't on a map. Wasn't on a lot of maps in the 1840s when it's supposed to, or 50s when it's supposed to be the biggest.
They took it off the map in the 1800s.
All right, so logistic-wise, perfect location. All right. Population numbers, we're going to get into that, but the whole point is about blowing this narrative up is population. We didn't get a FedEx in this town or any distribution center because the population was never big enough for an employee pool to have a distribution center because of the high turnover rate. With any job, you need a pool of people to do shit and get shit done. All right, with that said, here we have Silver Springs. You bring stuff in by steamship. I'll show you some stuff where it's a 3 to 4 day trip by steamer down the St. John's, into the Ocala, and up the Silver River to Ocala or Silver Springs. They did put a rail in here at some point. I have no idea when this photo is from.
1876, the rail went in.
Okay. The rail went in 1876. Well, clearly, the photo's from 1870, and there's a rail card right here. Okay, so, yeah. We'll get into these dates too. Here is the third courthouse of Ocala. This is a 1905 postcard.
Well,
it says, "What shall I do if guilty?" So somebody sent a postcard from jail.
Wait, if it's 1905, because it says the new courthouse was built in 1906.
Yeah, correct.
So this
is an old photo of that 2-story brick building.
But it's 1905 when that.
Well, it's supposedly burnt down in 1883, right? Fire of 1883.
Yep,
okay,
fire.
We'll get to the fire because there's always a fire in the narrative. Here's the courthouse that they say was built in 1905, finished summer of 1905, finished December of 1906.
Yep.
This courthouse is like any old world building you'd find in any city. It looks like state capitol building, you know.
Sure does.
And I mean, for the time, population-wise,
look at all the cars.
Florida was not very developed.
There's more cars there.
I believe this photo's from
there is right now.
The 1950s. Okay, now this photo's from I don't know when. I think it says.
Well, look at the type of cars. I would say the 30s.
It said between 1895.
No, look at the cars. They're like 1930s,
okay.
1920s.
Well, my point being is, I don't know when the photo's taken, but this building was burnt down in the fire of 1883. All these buildings were supposedly burnt down in the fire of 1883 and rebuilt.
Yes, the Great Fire.
When were they rebuilt? How long? The bank over here, it said
in 1884, they built 7 new buildings.
At the same time this building was being built, this building was being built over here. This old bank that's columns and whatever, which is in my last video if you want to check it out, yeah. Okay, so this is no longer here. It was built in 1906, torn down in 1965 because of upkeep. Yeah, whatever. All right, but this building should not be here in this photo existing with this building at the same time based on this was burnt down in 1883.
Based on historical facts.
Historical facts, which I'll get to those pages in a second, so if you want to cross-reference it or whatever. All right, so here we are. Here's another photo of it up close. Do I have a year up here? No, I do not. I got years somewhere else.
1910.
Okay, wait. This is the post office.
That was built in 1844.
44. But before then, when was the next one built? I believe, I don't know those dates. If you read the history from the museum, local museum, and from the local city, like archaeologists and these historians. It reads, oh my God, it's designed to confuse you. All the dates are whacked out and they jump all over the place. I'll show you that. But here we have a cornerstone in the newest courthouse, which is high tech, doesn't even look like any, I don't have any photos of it.
And
But 1906.
No, it says established 1849, but according to our records.
So
there
this
was no-
brick was supposedly moved from this building, wherever it was, I have no idea, over to where the new courthouse location
But those
is
dates,
today.
what is
This
1849?
That's when the Freemason Lodge was established in Ocala, which we don't have any of that.
In 1849, the only building that was built was the Hotel Marion.
And they,
That
well,
was
there's a
it.
hotel.
Hotel Marion was built
No,
in
there was other stuff,
1849.
because remember,
No, I'm
the
saying-
first courthouse was built out of logs in 46, then they built another one in whatever year, and another one. And now this is the one that replaced it, the third one, with the shit on top. This is the third one.
1906.
And this date,
1906.
6 was, no, that's the fourth
Yeah.
one is the final one.
1906.
There's 4 of them.
But that's December 1st, 1906.
Okay, so I don't even think that's that building, but it says it's the courthouse.
It says 1906.
All right, so we had the first one in 46. It was made out of pine logs, and then the first permanent one was a 2-story frame building of colonial design. So it was wood. I don't see any photos. A second in 1884, 2-story brick, which we just saw, cube style. Oh, they needed more adequate space, and it had to be of Roman design, for the times, because everything was built that style in 1906 was the final one. Because in 1883. It burnt down. It burnt down this one, and then they built a new one right immediately, which was a 2-story brick building. And then they didn't like the way it looked, so they tore it down and built one in 1906. And the walls of Indiana stone. So this stone came from Indiana that built this.
It was a Roman design.
This palatial building. The bricks came from Indiana.
Well, of course, because
Most of the granite in Florida came from Georgia.
Listen, in 1848, they were moving everything by oxen cart.
Oxen cart from
So
Silver
they moved-
Springs.
No, from Indiana. They moved
Well,
it
they
all
had
down there by oxen cart through the mountains.
Well, they had a rail to get to and from now
Not
to
in
build this.
1848.
But mind you, the steamboat from Jacksonville took 3 to 4 days to get down to St. John's and around and up there. And I'll show you because we got the receipts here. All right, so another photo, the courthouse
Look
downtown.
at them cars, man.
It was torn down in 1965. I don't
Those
know.
are-
Somebody might know
that
what
might
year
be
those
30s.
cars are.
They look like Bonnie and Clyde cars.
Okay, and this is what they replaced
That's
it
a
with.
1965 book.
This is what they replaced it with. right there,
1965.
yeah. Okay, garbage. All right, and then this is what we call the Ritz, and it does have an
That's
underground.
the Marion Hotel, and it was
No,
built
the Ritz.
in
It was
eight-
always called the Ritz.
Nope, it was the Marion Hotel.
No, it was not. This is the Ritz. It was
This is the
never
one that was
his-
built in 18.
No, that was
48.
downtown. That's downtown. All right. Anyway, we got that. Now let's see if I can.
That looks abandoned. Look how old that
man,
looks.
It's not going to let me do this. All right. So let me jump out of these pictures really quick, and let me go to share screen here. Share this screen. Share. All right. So this is the ocalaflorida.gov site. I'm not going to get into it because everything's ass backwards with dates and everything, and it just doesn't make any sense. But we're getting population numbers from here and blah, 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 blah. So everything burned down in 1883. Dan, what was the population? 1883. What's the population?
1883 doesn't have a population.
Well,
Well,
the
1876 was 300 people. In 1884 there was 2,000.
Okay, so
let's say
1884, we went
people.
from 300 people because supposedly after the last Seminole War in 1841 from Fort King, the soldiers
the wars
left.
went through the
The
1860s
soldiers left though after 1841, so they say it greatly reduced the population. So,
because it killed everybody.
well, there was nobody left. I don't want to get into the history of everything. I just know whatever they're telling us is a lie because the way you describe
they
stuff
said there was a
is
flourishing
like,
industry in Ocala in 1870,
Oh.
but in 1876 there's 300 people, so I don't know what kind of flourishing industry
there's
there was.
periodicals and numerous pamphlets and all sorts of stuff of like hey, come to this place, come to, well, these are brochures
been a
and stuff
tourist
like
place
that.
forever.
Here's the Tampa Palaca St. John's, landing at St. John's River, steamboats. And this is 1885. Is that what it just said? 1885, yeah, 1883, in that era. So, so it's still taken 3 to 4 days to get around and move around in this town. And the populations were not very good. This site, complete and utter garbage, I would say. The dates, the railroad it wasn't, 1876? It finally came from Palatka to here, but I say it was already there.
It was established.
Because the original train station was on the northwest side of town. It's not where they say it was here, and we know this. I forget why we know this, but I'm sure I've pretty much looked into everything. And to get these dates with a lot of these photos, what you have to do is, you got archive.org, but you have to find the old pamphlets. So here's Bethesda or Health Resorts, a booklet from 1885 that sort of discusses.
In 1885, there was 2,000 people living there.
So roughly 2,000 people living in at the head of the river. But I had this because they have, I don't know, and this is Florida Memory website, which is has a lot of stuff on it. It's the State Library Archive. So, but they talk about the St. John's River and the excursions you can go on and whatnot, and about how many days and how long it takes to go by boat or by rail, because there wasn't even that many rails. Even in the 1880s, it dead ended here, remember? And then they did build an extension down to the groves in Waldo, from Waldo to here somewhere, but then from here out to Cedar Key. You can look at, I got some old maps we'll bring up or whatnot, but anyway, this is just this is just generic crap that some guy wrote down. Ocala became a city, but in 1844, but then, we needed to make a city again, so here's just population. 1870, you had roughly 600 residents, roughly 200, the population wasn't big. Micanopy, 1880s, was 600 in Micanopy, which Micanopy is a popular place.
Maybe it's got,
because
50 now?
We'll get to this. We have Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin in 1850. Then we have the Civil War from 61 to 64, 65 basically, right? So you got war, you got all this stuff. How are things being built? How are things being done? If you're at war,
the Indian
but what's
War
funny
with the Creeks for
Beecher,
23 years.
Beecher lives in Micanopy, or north of Micanopy.
Near it.
And she was part of an excursion where back in the day in 1885, after all this, 1885, you could go and visit her home and for the day or
Tourist
whatever.
attraction.
Yeah, like a tourist attraction. This the way this reads, you can go to California, you can look up, historic preservation downtown district and look at this stuff, but it's just the way it reads is we're jumping from the 1880s to the 1900s, back to the 1840s. We're all over the place. But everything burnt down in 1883. Almost everything. Huge blocks. That 3-story Marion Block Opera House, blah, blah, blah. They erected it in 1833 after everything burnt down. Then they built what? Warehouses and courthouse and another courthouse. They just kept building and building and building, and they called it Brick City. This is known as Brick City. All the roads were brick, all the buildings were brick, everything was brick.
Ocala House
If it
Hotel.
took 3 to 4 days, just as a passenger,
European travelers stayed at the Ocala House Hotel.
European travelers.
In
This was
1884.
so to say the population was that, is it a lie? Because to build everything in 1 year, the crap that they built after
Over
that
25
fire.
buildings from 83 to 84.
Oh yeah, 25 brick buildings and that's banks. That's
why it was called Brick
look,
City.
including first two banks, which went broke because the Orange Grove freeze and later on.
Oh, the global warming.
But this was the place to come. They discovered phosphate. Population rose a little bit because they needed miners, I guess. But what we're getting to is, I'll get to these photos here in just a second, but the dates and the timeline and the population, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah,
because
how 200 people
it's
live in a
impossible,
town.
because even if you had 2,000 people, let's say
200, there you go,
half of them
200
were
people building a town for 2,000.
Well, yeah, why would you build that courthouse that big? Even in 1900, what was the population? 1900s, almost 5,000, right?
3,300.
3,300 was the census. Okay, and I've checked on these numbers. I went to the census. We verified.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense because half
And
those people
who
would.
paid for all this material? Where's the big stuff?
Yeah. Where's all this money coming from? Because they delayed construction on redoing the courthouse numerous times for funding. But I'll tell you what, grant, rich people, movies, all sorts of shit's been done here. Like even to this day, you got a lot of rich people that own land here and own homes. Travolta,
I'd like to
Petty,
look at that history book
Burt Reynolds. I mean, you had all sorts of people here.
by Jod Clark.
All right. Well, anyway, and it was supposed to be, at the time, it was supposed to be like the place to be, the thing to do. Like everything was booming too.
Carriage manufacturing. Oh look,
Ocala had its
natural
own,
sewage
it had its
system.
own natural. It had sinks, sewer wells, the
They're
hotel,
called
the
sinkholes.
jail, the hotel, and the Ocala house, which burnt down. They all burnt down. You know, all had natural sewers or whatever.
The Montezuma Hotel.
During 1 year period, they did $250,000 worth of construction in new buildings. Well, just to get the material here, I know out in Denellen there's brick furnaces, you know, but even then, you had to ox and cart. You didn't have a railroad from there to here. You didn't have any of that when you built all of this. And not only that, you didn't even have the population to do it. Because even in the 1880s, there wasn't shit in Florida. It was like, you had
Swamps.
like it was swamp. Everything was flooded. The St. Johns River used to be 1 mile to 6 miles wide until the Army Corps the Civil War, and they come in, and everywhere they went, it seems like the fucking city burnt down.
Poor people.
So, population-wise, we're seeing from different site to different site how many residents there were. You know, here's 1880. They're saying 803. That's when Grant visited. And mind you, during this time too, when all this
And he's
shit's
the
going on,
president.
shit burned down.
Dude, he's a president.
They
He's
have
been here.
a World's Fair, not a World's Fair, but a subtropical fair. What do they call it? Exposition. And it ran for 2 winters. And this is the thing. This was a big winter place for the elite and the rich. They'd come down here, relax, unwind, whatever, you know. So,
Look at 1890. Look at all the buildings.
they 1908, Ocala
Right.
National Forest. Okay, 1915, there was 5,300 residents. If half those were women and children, you got a pool of 2,500. How the fuck are you building all this shit? Like, I mean, it was all built in just a few years. So I say a lot of this shit was there already. We're not even mentioning the steeple places with the bells. All right. Anyway, I wanted to get away from that. So these websites, you can look at a lot of these brochures. A lot of this is UF or
Oh, go down there and look
University
at
of
city tours.
Florida is where I found this stuff. All right, here's my page.
1905.
Yeah, that's when that's the firehouse was built too in 1905. See, I mean everything was built in the same year, or in the 1880s, 83, 84, 85. All right, I have. I want to see my profile.
Zero
Save.
following. Nobody's following you.
People
You need to go to Global
pin
Club.
different places. St. Augustine, old photos.
There it is.
Old Florida. What was I looking for in here? I think I was looking for that brochure.
I think that was in the Florida side.
All right. Well, okay. So like this is Jacksonville to St. Augustine. There's a road. Hey, it's a dirt road. How long is that
Looks
going
like
to
a
take?
railroad track.
I mean,
Look, that's railroad track.
it's not a railroad track. Those are carts. It might be a railroad track.
It does.
Oh, it is from a railroad track.
Yeah, it looks like from the
It
back
is.
of the
It's from the
railroad.
back of a railroad car.
Yeah.
So they did have a rail, and they had it way before what they're telling you.
Hey, look at
I'm
that
telling
rail.
you.
Look, oh, now
This
them
is
are
like
rust.
the old. My last video, I showed you these markers. These are identical to the markers that are here in Ocala and out in Oxford South. So there's a road. I mean, it went from St. Augustine to Palatka to here. I mean, there was a route. There was industry. There was shipping. There was a lot of stuff moving around. If you watch the old logging videos, Here's the ferry that went across
19.
the river. Here's Highway
River.
129. Yeah, the Swanee. This is the Swanee though. U.S. Highway 19. There was one there. Remember? Yep.
Yeah.
That shut down. Oh, actually, just recently, not too many years ago, they just shut it down. I wouldn't go down that damn road anyway. Oops. But yeah. All right. Let me switch back.
If you just look at the construction on those places, it's
Wait.
too similar.
I gotta switch back. Let me do this. Open this. And then I'll start with this one. Alright. And then if I do this, and this over the top. Right? Okay. Done. Alright, now I can go back. Alright, this is Oakland. Okay. And the reason I'm showing you all this stuff is just,
Does it look identical building?
okay, so here's the excursions. The trip starts at 11 o'clock, St. Augustine, a few hours. You can go out to Green Cove, blah, 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 blah. This trip takes about 3 days. Beautiful, just from Jacksonville to Green Cove. It's only 30 miles away. Ocala River trip. Go to Ocala River and get up.
Probably 3
go
to
from
4
Palaca.
days.
Go from Palaca to Green Cove and blah, blah, blah.
45 miles. 3 to 4 days.
Darren, winter home of Miss Harriet Beecher Stowe. That's where we get this from. This pamphlet's from 1885. And just to show you logistic-wise of what it took just to get around back then in 1885. And you built all this stuff 4 or 5 years, like right around the same exact time as all this is going on. So, and you didn't have a population. You didn't have no population, just St. Augustine. All right, here we have a top timeline of the world, like basically, and we're going to say, yeah, there was millions of people. So we jumped because we first started counting Indians. But what I find interesting is how the census and who's been in control of it and all this. And this is why we start then, because history in the U.S. doesn't start until now, until now when they did everything. So you established a post office, you established this, you established a census bureau, like government was being made.
U.S. Marshal.
That's why we don't get any history before this. When we know Ocala was here way before this, Micanopy was here way before our timeline starts, before they start our history. All right, so what I thought was funny is down in here we have Beecher Stowe, who wrote what? Uncle Tom's Cabin. Started the Civil War, supposedly. But also on that Ocala site, it's interesting to know that half of the downtown was owned by who, Dan?
Oh, no, they were colored people.
African American descent? Yes. Very prosperous for African Americans here back in the 1800s. Very prosperous.
They was.
Oh, they owned banks. They owned all sorts of stuff here.
They had their own mercantile bank.
All right, here we go. This is 1840. This is all the canals that are already dug up here in Michigan, off the lakes, Great Lakes, proposed canals that are being dug, extensions by rail from canal to canal, because you could take a boat up into, the river, St. Lawrence, whatever you got here, the Potomac, come up and get into Pittsburgh and blah, blah, blah. And still to this day, they use these canals to bring in coke and stuff for the steel plants.
Oh.
And they come in from up top, actually, or it's not on the map, but there's more. Anyway. Oh, no, don't want to close that. Right. So here we go, 1860.
This is down to the war.
Yep, at the end of the war. Very little. We got some counties named, but very little cities named. Here's the roads. We got one going down the coast, and we have a train going from Cedar Key into Ocala, up into Palatka, or wherever, up and over. Well, here it is. Here's Ocala. Here's a rail, but there is a rail line, see, that goes to Cedar Key out here. But yeah, I can't. That's a little blurry. But this is 1860 map. And if you look at the rest of the country, which we'll get to, here we go. What year? 1860. Every state's there. Everything's there. You got cities. You got state capitals. You got everything. Now, mind you, this is just a little town in Florida that's been on a map since 1580. It's had population come and go, has old world buildings. And you have the Bach Tower down here, which I think I have a photo of. This map is from 1830,
Look at all the cities
before
on
the
the coast.
purchases.
St. Augustine.
Okay, so in 1830, 30 years later, everything's done out here. Everything's done. 30
Yeah.
years. Where's the manpower? You had 1830s. How many people was there let me look really quick. 1830s, there was 100 people. 100 people? What?
In Ocala, yeah.
No, millions in the 1830s. There was millions. But nobody came down this way. I mean, like, none of it was developed. None of it's, in the 1830s, they're not showing roads, nothing. I mean, but they did utilize the St. Johns River down into Lake George, into the
Said Tallahassee.
over. That's Talusa.
No, right up the top.
Oh, Tallahassee.
Yeah.
St. Augustine's there, but nothing really in the middle. There's nothing really there.
Cape
Along the
Canaveral.
coast.
Cape Canaveral's been there.
Yeah, along the coast, you got coastal stuff, but nothing in the interior. When at the time, this was the Greenway, or what they were going to build the cross-Florida barge canal, and it's where cattle and all that stuff that the Indians were raising. Like, they came in here and just decimated the Indians. It took them a long time. The Osceola's pretty smart. Anyway, get back to the old buildings. All right. So, here we are, 1830, and the same map. All right, here we are, 1850s. So Oregon Territory before the 60s, Texas, Utah, like everything, before we got all the states. But look, develop. There's Micanopy.
Yeah.
It's on the map. No,
Fort
we got
Brooke,
Volusia
New
down here,
Smyrna.
but Volusia meaning Volusia over here, which is New Smyrna Beach
Lake
on the
George.
coast. Yeah, they got Lake George on the map, but
Tampa Bay.
anyway, and there you go. I mean, you can look at a bunch of different maps and just show you that.
There's Fort King right
This
there.
is 1850. I
Fort
mean, look at
King.
Georgia. Look at all the
Look at Fort
cities.
King. That's
Look at
Ocala.
all the cities and blah, blah, blah. And look at Florida still. Nothing. And
Yeah.
if this is supposed to be a giant hub,
There's Fort King right
moving
there.
stuff, I think they kept people out to cut down all the damn trees, dude, because the trees that were here were massive. 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 Plantations were massive. Here's just a brief timeline of how, Spanish territory. We didn't get this until when, 1819? It was Spanish
This
hands
is
until
1804,
1819. Yeah.
1805, 1806. They crossed the whole
But just some
entire
time,
country.
okay, this is when we got it, 1819, we finally got it. And this is the Louisiana Purchase, and then Texas annexation, and blah, 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 Oregon Territory in 1846. The California Gold Rush was 1849, but yet 1848.
Well, that doesn't make
Is when
sense.
we
It says
got it.
North and South Dakota.
So right after we got it,
1818.
it's like right after we got it, everybody rushed in. Lewis
But
and
that
Clark.
1830
Wait,
map
Lewis
didn't
and Clark
have it.
came out here. This territory turned over in 1803 and 1804. Lewis and Clark sprinted the trail. All right, here's the Brown House, which is like a hotel over by Silver Springs, which was a bar just outside of town. This guy's from Micanopy. Here's the Micanopy House. Which Micanopy to this day is a little. There's nothing there no more. It's nothing. It's
There's
like
a
an abandoned
mansion
town. It's a brief history. DeSoto was there. He was through here. There were Spanish people everywhere. All this stuff. 1774. Blah blah blah. Yeah, same
Fort
same
Micanopy.
scenario. Everything burnt down. Whatever. Same scenario. Here is an entrance to one of the plantations in Micanopy. Looks like it's been there a really long time. This photo, 1850. All right, photo 1850. All right. Florida roadways, 1921. So you had some roads along the coast, some through the middle. I mean, now we got a bunch of roads. Actually got some roads. And if you look at Palatka, how big of a hub it is. Jacksonville, because of the river, and then over. And Ocala was even a hub. It still is to this day. It's probably, I'd say, the best location to put up a transportation company or something for the state, because you can get southern Georgia, Antelope, Florida, but anyway. Here's that same place Look at that house.
Look at that house.
Look at that plantation in Micanopy. None of this stuff's there anymore. There's one plantation home, a few older homes that 1900s. Nothing this old though. Nothing. It's Micanopy. And there's Micanopy, the Indian, the Seminole.
With this gold medallion.
Mm-hmm. They all wore those Washington medallions like it was some kind of, like he was an honest man and he, or whatever. I don't know how they sold them as, but whatever they did. Here's the old downtown Micanopy, South Main Street. Brick buildings.
It's still there today.
Brick buildings.
It looks just like this.
It looks just like this, yeah. There's shit there still.
No, it's exactly looks just like, and the mansions over here.
Except the old buildings. All right, now here's some of the old tickets you could buy.
1855.
The name's changed. It's PA now.
Okay, but 1855.
1855,
right?
yeah.
All right. So in 1855.
You could take
there was
a coach to Tampa. Oh man, you were styling.
In 1855, there was 100 people living in Ocala.
No, a couple hundred, right?
No, 300 in 1876. 100 people in 1855.
Oh, just based? Well, no, there was
Based
more.
on-
No, there was more previously because the military left, so it reduced the population. But all right, here is a train, and this is Micanopy. In Micanopy, that went from over to St. Augustine area, Palaca, that way.
With
this train
scrap
did.
metal.
And actually, it was a lumber area.
Might look like.
Most places were. But this is just one of like 3 or 4 photos of different numbered steam engines that ran this line. So it was busy. I mean, there had to be people, but all these cities' population. Here's
Look how elegant
Micanopy.
everybody dressed.
Here's another plantation.
Look,
And
they
that
had
kid
no
looks
cars.
psycho. Some lady creeping. Kid with his pit bull, a dog, whatever. Little girl. Her shoes got to hurt.
Look at the servants.
You got the lady over here. Is it a servant?
I don't know. Who's got the dog? Is it the servant or is it the homeowner?
No,
Why
looks
are
like a
people
kid.
all dressed
Just
in
a young
black?
kid.
Yeah, is he the homeowner? Will it
I
the
don't
little
know
girl?
what's
Or
going on.
look, black, and this chick's in black. What's that? Is that the family?
It's a black and white photo, man. All right, this is the courthouse that. Oh no, this is Micanopy Courthouse that was built. It is no longer there today. You can see the clocks that were in it and all that. No different than the one they built in Ocala.
Looks like there's a
No
cross
different
on
than
top
any
of
of them. And mind you, back then the population was crap. All right, but they, you get all these bricks here. Here's, DeSoto and Folk Fest that they hold somewhere around here. I don't know. Ocala River ticket.
it.
Soda
1895.
Springs. Yep. So here we're still taking ferries and boats in 1895, but yet they're building these giant palatial buildings that 10 years later.
They were called the Hotel
And there's still
Palace.
no population and there's nothing. I want to get to these photos. Just
Jacksonville.
some of these tickets, right? Here's old Silver Springs.
From
Look
an
at these-
aerial view.
Yeah, 1850s or 1835 or 1850. Big difference.
So
But
how are they doing it?
1850s,
How-
right here, 1854.
No, look at all the cars.
This
It's
is a
impossible.
survey
Look at
photo.
all the cars.
Yeah, I know. These are
It
survey
can't be
photos from the
18
50s.
anything.
1950.
There you
sorry.
go.
1935 and 1955. This 1955 surveys looking south because the river flows south, or and then it flows east, and then it connects into. You can see the river back here, so it goes out. And this is all fucking swamp growing up, all of it, every bit of it. It's dry to the bone now. Nature park, trails, all that good stuff. All right. Here's an old still
Floating house?
on Juniper Run, which Juniper Springs was out there. Here's a day excursion where you had your own Seminole kid rowing you around. And look, they're all dressed to the fucking nines, man. They're all like,
sweating their ass
it's
off.
soft. It is so humid. It's back then it was a subtropical climate. And you can even see where they cleared the trees. I mean, very little cypress trees left today. Here is Aunt Cecilia at the Silver Springs dock in front of some guy's ferry or whatever. An old platform at the old depot. And they clearly have no respect for him. She looks
Yeah, but
probably
he got a
indigenous.
knife to her throat?
I don't know. It looks like a fish.
Oh,
Looks
it
like a
is.
fish.
He's stuffing a fish in her face, and he's holding her head. That looks like abuse.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks weird too. One of these guys is the captain of this boat. I would say this scruffy looking guy is.
They're abusing
Hey,
her.
Charlie Chaplin, look. All right. 1921, Silver Springs. Nothing's there. Just the buildings, some
spring.
cars pulled up. You could go swimming back down there, just the spring. This is
The approach.
to Silver Springs on the line, whatever, some line. But yeah, see all the cypress trees, and most of it's clear. Look at it all looks clear cut. It all looks devastated, sort of. Here we go, in the 50s again. Okay, this is Demopolis, Alabama, just to show you, like, hey, look, we got this same looking thing, and they called it a bank. This is called a plantation, the Gaineswood Plantation, 1930s. Now it looks like it's been left in ruins for quite some time. So when was it built? Who knows? But hey, we got an old car out front. Somebody's living in it.
Looks like it's been abandoned.
Oh yeah, I know. Just like all of them.
Like,
Here we go, Walker Evans Plantation, abandoned.
That was just a bad storm.
Here's a good way to cross-reference dates of when things were built and when they say they were built, is you find these old periodicals
Building
and you flip through
monthly.
them. And if this came out in 1902 and they got a picture of it and they say it was
And look
built
at all
in
the debris on the
1906,
roof.
this is how you bust their narrative. And yes, most of those buildings were built way before they say they were. And
look,
then
this
most of them
subscription was only $2.50
another book you can find old photos. Now, if they publish an old photo from 1800s, they will give a reference to when it was originally published. Yeah, if they have that information. But this is how you find these dates. You got to find the publishers would give the dates. Oh, here we go. This is
Naval Blimp Base.
Naval Blimp Place in Louisiana back in the. Here we are, 1909, a high school, 400 students. Where are we at? We're in some other state, probably. Who knows?
Wait.
But you know, look at the columns, look at the building.
In 1880, Ocala had more public schools than anywhere else in the whole state. And there was only 500 people.
Yeah, I know. All right, here we go. Bell Helen.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the Bell Grove, which is the different one. Now here, this guy, E.W. Russell Survey. You can go to AmericanArchive.org.
So how old
Boom,
is
boom,
this
boom.
to be abandoned in 1937?
You can.
That's some nice work. Look at that work.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, 1937. So
It's
he did his
abandoned.
survey, and this is Alabama.
This is
Yeah,
probably 100
and
years
some of those
old.
older photos were taken by this guy too. And most of these buildings are abandoned. Why would you go up and put a marker on it? Like, this is how people moved west and repopulated. This is why areas were given to prominent families. Like the whole Ocala territory, Micanopy, was given to 4 families and all plotted out. And Ocala became the county seat for everything for the county. Here we go. This is a
That's a
plantation
government building.
somewhere
says Uncle
else.
Sam.
Another plantation. Here we go. In 1890, under the Reconstruction Grant, the federal government had a program in the 1890s of reconstruction.
To rehab
From what? From
buildings.
after the war? Well, that looks like mud flood, for one, right there. And he's redoing the
Well,
roof.
look
see
at
the
your
guy on the
water
roof.
erosion.
Yeah, exactly. Mud flood, something, whatever, like you wouldn't make that your driveway. You'd think they do this, but there's a pile of crap in the way, which is probably the old shingles off the building. Who knows? But here we have some kind of building back here.
That's a
But
tent
look
where they were
how
living at.
worn.
Why they were doing the
And this building,
reconstruction.
I mean, my house is 45 years old, 46 years old. And I put a fucking roof on it just recently, like after 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 40 years old, like built out of brick. My shit's wood. Like, it ain't even.
Yeah.
Don't tell me technology either,
But
because
your
that's
house-
ceramic. That ain't going. That's lasting forever.
Dude, your house is not Indiana stone.
It's got to be way older than what they're
Look at
saying.
that.
Here's Hickory Hill,
1890.
and a lot of these are the survey from the survey. Here's the Bell Grove. Look at these columns. Look at this stuff.
Look at
Looks
the
like a
ornate
bank.
ironwork.
And of course, whatever was in here is gone because it's supposedly a plantation. This is Wales, the UK. United Kingdom. No big deal. Here we go. Here's the grove after the fire. This is that column we were seeing. The image might have been reversed. That's why the plaque, because this looks destroyed now. If there was a marker, like my last video showing how the marker was removed from the building. Oh,
Look
there
at
was
that
one
ghost.
there.
Look at that ghost.
There
there.
is something
Look
there,
at that
but
face. It's a face. Look at
we
the
don't
eyeball.
know what it is. Who knows what that is?
I'm
Over
telling
here.
you, it's a face.
Well, they got a kid up here, some kids down here.
Dude, there's a kid
building-
sitting. There's a ghost kid right here.
All right.
Look at the ghost kid.
I know. So for the time period, oh, there's a kid sitting there too.
No, he ain't a kid. He's got
sitting.
no
There's
feet.
a little kid
It's a
sitting
ghost
there.
kid,
Okay,
dude.
it's a ghost kid. All right. Anyway, here we go. The arcade, Providence, Rhode Island. You know, I'm just showing you like all this stuff was built at the same time. That's what I'm getting at.
Look how big
The
those
population.
columns
If you didn't populate Florida and you didn't populate the West as quickly as you did, everything's built out there already.
Look how big
I showed
all
you
that
that on
is.
the map. Everything's built.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, we're building tear-down buildings for exposition. This is an exposition building, probably California. I want to say this is one in California. Here we go. We got government building,
this goes down
Trans-International, Mississippi one. You know, this is the Trans-International U.S. government building that we're going to tear down a year from now. And then here we got Louisiana Purchase. You know, Louisiana. Here we're going to build a castle.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to tear it down. Oh, here we go. I like this one. This is Philly. Look at that. Now, this is when you have manpower, see? You're in Philly. More people, I guess. They can build this shit.
This is an expedition.
I like that Antiquitech. We got some Antiquitech, you know. We got some.
They had electricity.
They're going, oh, yeah. Ocala didn't have electricity until 1888. Yeah, and limited to certain areas.
Now look at this. Is this just an idea or is this reality?
But Juniper Springs had electricity before 1888
Because of
out
the
at the mill at the spring, and it just turned and powered like 3 or 4 homesteads at the time, they said. And that's where the canopy subtropical climate used to be. And in 2005, the hurricanes wiped out the last of the giant trees.
Water.
But yet they're all chainsawed off at the moment. And here we go. Fire, Jacksonville, dawn, fire, everywhere.
There's that Bethesda again.
Yeah, here's one of those books. Save some image. Here's a boat
Silver
landing.
Springs.
Look at this old building. That is not there today. That is long gone. Whatever that is, it looks brick, but it is not there today.
They couldn't keep up with maintenance.
It's long gone before the 50s. These are the 35 photos of the spring somewhere from the angle. The angle.
Did you see how they drew the pyramid there and put the springs
all right, now,
there in the bottom?
These are buildings in Clearwater. So just, you know, at the time,
Wait,
they built
what are
everything
they
like
called?
that. So that time period. So
Who
that
owns-
time
Who owns
period,
all these buildings
that
now?
time period, not only were you,
Science.
not only did you build,
Scientology. That's who owns them all.
yeah, now it's Scientology, capital of the world.
No,
But
these
anyway,
buildings, they own them.
but mind you, now there's no roads, there's no infrastructure, there's some roads and stuff in front of these buildings, but when they were built, there wasn't. That's my
Well, here's
point.
the weird thing.
When
Why
they
is it
were
written
built,
with
look at the brick.
But look at the word. It's CVAR. Why?
Something company, tile.
They didn't have a
title.
U. They
It's a
used-
title and trust company.
Yeah, but look at the CV.
Oh, yeah, it's
It
the
doesn't
date.
say county.
Oh, it's the date, probably.
No, that's when they were using the
All
V
right,
instead
so
of the
there's
U.
logistically, it's good. You know, Clearwater's down here, so you know you shot over and came down, whatever, or you took the, I don't know, you took the damn river, or you came over by coach
The coach.
to Tampa. Yes, Tampa Clearwater, yeah, St. Pete. So, but you could come over.
It's just like now. You
But
go to
they
the
know
beach.
you could go by boat from Jacksonville down and around, and somehow there was some way they got into the Swanee, and then so they could transport goods across without having to go around Florida. Even if they had to train some of it and then back on a boat and down, it would still be quicker than trying to cut through the jungle
swamp.
that Florida was, and the swamp and all that. So that's how everything was
There it
shipped.
was.
Yeah. And years ago, about 10 years ago, they opened the Sharps Ferry Bridge, which is a turnstile bridge that was built a long time ago. Here's that one photo again. Here's the downtown again. All right, so yeah. So where's my photo? Where's my photo that was the narrative? Where was it? Did I pass it? There
Right
it is.
there.
All right, so 1906. This is the fourth and not the final courthouse. The bank, 1906 etched on it, but I have a plate that said 19 something. It's in my last video. This building, it
Burnt
should
down
be gone.
1883.
Burnt to the ground, completely gone.
They destroyed it.
In the fire. Supposedly all
So
these
this is a
blocks
glitch
south
in the matrix.
are all gone. Yes, maybe. Was the building ever rebuilt? No, it was not. Today,
It's called the
stands-
Palace Hotel.
Today, it used to be just blank parking lot in the Chamber of Commerce for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and then they built a hotel on it, and there's a parking garage behind it now. But this is a hotel again now, but this burnt down in the fire. But it is in a photo.
But it burnt down 20 years before this picture.
15, 16 years.
No.
1906,
1883.
1883. That's 17, okay,
23
yeah.
years.
Yeah. So I don't know how this is here. If it burnt down, like their narrative says. And I think that's why their website is so confusing and jumps all over the place. These buildings that look really old with a really old worn roofs, all these buildings, all of it gone. All that burnt to the ground too. That's all gone. But this didn't. Somehow this area did, and
That area.
maybe this area was all rebuilt afterwards. But no, because this building was here. That's the old fire station or
Yeah.
old fire station. It's
Oh, no,
gone.
post
It's gone. It
office.
burned down too.
The weird thing, the post office was the first major building
But
in
this
the
building
town.
is still here. All these buildings are still here. All these buildings are still here today. This building back here is still here. This was the Seminole Feed Store. This is a bank, is now a welcome center for the town, and it has an underground. It is underground, and it has a vault, and there is a tunnel that goes from this side over under the road over to this building on this side of the road, because that's where the teller booths were, and they utilized the old tunnel that was there pre-existing. Must have been Diddy's house.
But look at that elaborate building in the background. That was weird.
Oh, the hotel.
Look at them waiting
The hotel.
No, wait, back behind it.
Oh, yeah.
There
Nice
it is.
house. It's a big ass house.
Yeah.
3 stories.
That's bigger than most
Now,
of
mind
these
you, the
buildings.
stories from the 1200s, from Americus that came to America,
Mhm.
when he encountered the natives, they lived in
Build-
3-story
yeah.
brick buildings.
Elaborate homes.
Yes. Palaces.
Yeah, he did say something.
Yes. And that was his stories, his words. So was it already here? I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, DeSoto, why the hell else would any of these people
I
come
didn't,
here?
but look, at
Why would anybody
1906,
have
look how many cars are
Why
there.
would anybody
Everyone
have
had a car.
significant notoriety and like Grant? Why would he show up here when there's only a few thousand people living here? Why the hell would you even come here?
President.
Yeah, why? Why would you even come here?
Because of that building.
Because of something else.
That building
well, not
right
only
there.
that, the Fountain of Youth. You know, I found a coin on Fort King Avenue. Everything where they say stuff was the first Mormon settlement or Quaker settlement was out in the Greenway. It wasn't where they say it was. The fort where the fort's built, that's not where the fort was. None of it's accurate. Like, they moved everything around. Now, mind you, yeah, where the fort is, where you dig, there's a spring there. The fort's around the spring. Could it be the Fountain of Youth? I don't know. Coach McCall, he looked young as fuck, but he was old as shit, and that was his yard. It was
Wow.
his house before they turned it into a
Park.
took it from him, yeah. Well, he did sell it. Old post office again, old Cornerstone. We went through these, right? Yeah, okay. The old Ritz Hotel, it has an underground too.
Looks like it's underground right there.
All right, so let me close this. Let me go back to this. Put this on top of it. Double click. This. Done. All right. Well, that was the narrative blower. Was the building wasn't there, and it shouldn't be there because they say it burnt to the ground, but it was there in the photo. So all their dates are lies. The way this website runs, I closed it already because it was the city of Ocala one in the downtown historic district and all that, talking about all the crazy dates and the populations and whatnot. And I did cross-reference it with censuses and books and when was this published, when was that photo published, in what book, whatever. There's so many discrepancies in Florida, it's ridiculous because you have a published book in 1837, right, with a photo of the Alcazar Hotel, right, which I probably have one here, St. Augustine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't built until 1854 and first opened in 1854. Well, how do you have a published photo of it before it was built? And that's another narrative blower. But just to show you, like all over the world, like everywhere, no matter where you went in the 1850s, this was the style. So everything had to be built in that time period
By the same type of people.
So who were? I mean, yes, you had millions in populations by the one chart, but you had
Look
on
at
the map-
1861.
wait,
Look at that
on the map-
elaborate Arabian hotel in Tampa.
on that map from 1860 that I showed you, it had over 500,000 cities, 400,000 townships, so many of these, so many villages. I mean, it had millions. There was millions of labeled locations. Split the population up in that, and considering Florida was swamp and you couldn't get people here, and I mean, hell, look at these roads. I mean, this is St. Augustine. I mean, an old photo. When? I don't know. Nobody probably knows. We'll never know. All right. Well, anyway, that's my 2 cents. It's
Yep,
just,
that's my penny and a
it's
half.
just everything. There's U.S. Highway 1, the first interstate built down into Florida. Red brick. Did they build it? I don't know.
They
Because
had
on the
so
maps,
much red
on
brick,
the maps,
dude. It was just
the
so
trails were there. Old
They had all
Indian
the
trails.
excess
All the
red brick
roads
you
were
can
there.
imagine.
I mean, just the stuff. Here's a coquino in Ormond Beach. Yeah, let me look at that. Because that's the stone that they would use.
Oh,
to
that's
build
the
these things.
Pinkertons. The Pinkertons management.
I have no idea. This comes from Florida Memory Site,
You don't know who Pinkertons
which
are?
is the State Archive and Library. Here's Bach Tower. Bach Tower, built out of coquino stone and granite from Georgia. Built in 1929, supposedly. The photos of him in the garden of this place are from the 1800s, and it says photo location unknown.
With Bach
Why would
Tower.
you even
With
type
Bach
that?
Tower
Why
in the
would you even
background.
say that? Why would you even have to say that? Why would you just say a photo of
Nothing.
whatever?
Just not saying anything.
Not say anything. You
Man
know?
in garden.
Yeah. And not only that, you're like in the one place. Well, in 1850, where the 18
Dude, Ocala Caverns?
yeah, that's on South
441?
Pine. Yeah,
They
South
closed
Pine,
it
South
down,
441. Oh yeah, it's all overgrown and everything now. Yeah, it's all a danger. Like half the time it was too flooded to go in, or it didn't have enough water to go in. It was a canoe ride, and it came out on 484. Here's the Juniper Springs, and look, this building had a generator in it.
Yeah, there's the
that
mill.
powered like 3 or 4 homesteads around it long before they cleared it all out like they did. But this is where the subtropical climate was.
Look how
This was
little it was.
a cleared out area, bathing area, and the only spot in the whole fucking park you could be in the sun. Because everywhere else you went, you were in the
Yeah.
fucking shade.
Canopy.
And the water was cold. So
This
well,
was
it same
1935.
temperature. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who was there? Civilian Conservation Corps. The Corps. They were everywhere. The Corps did all sorts of stuff.
The CCC.
They fucked up the Swanee River. They built barges and canals and dams and dude had just everything. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
All right.
we know we blew that narrative apart about when they say
I'm glad
these
this was
buildings
just
are built.
becoming a video.
Yeah. All right.